The phone rang at 10:45 p.m. on our 25th wedding anniversary, and I knew before I answered it that my life was about to become a Stephen King novel without the supernatural bullcrap. Mr. Davidson, this is Officer Martinez with Metro Police. We found your wife at the Sunset Motel on Highway 9. She's been taken to County General Hospital. You need to come down here. I sat there in my workshop, surrounded by the 1967 Mustang I'd been restoring for 3 years, holding the phone like it might bite me. The irony wasn't lost on me. I'd been waiting all evening for Samantha to come home for our anniversary dinner. The lasagna sat cold in the oven, the candles had burned down to nothing, and I'd already finished half a bottle of wine by myself. What happened to her? I asked, though part of me already knew. Sir, we'd prefer to discuss this at the hospital. She's conscious, but... Well, just come down, okay? 20 minutes later, I was walking through the automatic doors of County General, still wearing my good shirt and tie from the anniversary dinner that never happened. The fluorescent lights made everything look like a crime scene, which I suppose it was. The nurse at the desk looked at me with that particular mixture of pity and discomfort that hospital staff reserve for family members who are about to get very bad news. Room 237, she said. But sir, before you go in there, you should know that your wife was found in a compromising situation. The police will want to speak with you. I walked down that hallway feeling like I was in a dream, or maybe a nightmare, the kind where you know something terrible is coming, but you can't wake up. My footsteps echoed off the linoleum, and I could hear my own heartbeat in my ears. Room 237. The door was slightly open, and I could see Samantha lying there, looking smaller than I'd ever seen her. Her perfectly styled blonde hair was matted, her makeup smeared, and there were bruises on her arms. She was wearing a hospital gown, but I could see her clothes in a plastic bag on the chair, a red dress I'd never seen before, expensive lingerie that definitely wasn't for my benefit. Jesus, Sam, I whispered. She turned her head toward me, and for a moment I saw something in her eyes that might have been shame, but it passed quickly, replaced by that familiar look of defiance that I'd been seeing more and more over the past few years. David, she said, her voice hoarse, I can explain. Can you... I pulled the chair closer to her bed, noting how she flinched when I moved too quickly, because I'm really curious to hear how you explain being found half naked in a motel room on our anniversary. Before she could answer, her phone buzzed on the nightstand. The screen lit up with a text message from Nolan that read, Baby, are you okay? Had to leave when the cops came. Call me. I stared at that phone for a long moment, feeling something cold and hard settling in my chest. 25 years of marriage, and I was finding out about her affair from a text message in a hospital room. Nolan, I said, testing the name. That would be Nolan Pierce, right? Your cousin's husband? Samantha closed her eyes. David, please. It's not what you think. It's exactly what I think. I picked up her phone before she could stop me and scrolled through the messages. Months of them. Planning meetings, talking about me like I was some kind of obstacle to be managed, discussing how to hide their expenses. Jesus Christ, Sam! Your cousin's husband? At family barbecues, I shook this guy's hand while he was screwing my wife. It just happened, she said weakly. Bullcrap. I stood up, pacing to the window. Outside, I could see the motel across the street. The neon sign still flickering, vacancy. This has been going on for months. I can see the timestamps on these messages. While I was working 60-hour weeks to pay for Chloe's college, while I was fixing up the house, while I was planning our anniversary dinner, you were planning your next hookup with Nolan. A knock on the door interrupted us. Officer Martinez entered, a tired-looking man in his 40s who'd probably seen this scenario play out 100 times before. Mr. Davidson? I'm sorry to interrupt, but I need to ask you a few questions. Your wife was found unconscious in room 15 at the Sunset Motel. The man she was with left the scene before we arrived. We need to know if you have any idea who that might have been. I looked at Samantha, who was staring at the ceiling like she could will herself to disappear. Then I looked at the phone in my hand, still showing Nolan's messages. Yeah, I said. I have a pretty good idea. I left the hospital at 3 a.m. with a head full of rage and a heart full of something that felt suspiciously like relief. 25 years of marriage, and I finally had permission to stop pretending everything was fine. The drive home took me past the Sunset Motel, and I couldn't help but slow down as I passed. Room 15 had police tape across the door, and I found myself wondering how many times they'd been there before tonight. How many times had I been home alone, thinking Sam was working late at the law firm, while she was actually 3 miles away screwing her cousin's husband? My phone rang as I pulled into our driveway. Riley, our 19-year-old, calling from college. Dad, I just got the weirdest call from Mom. She said she was in the hospital and that you'd abandoned her there. What the hell is going on? I sat in my truck for a moment, looking at our house. 25 years of mortgage payments, 25 years of mowing the lawn and fixing the gutters and painting the trim, 25 years of building a life with someone who'd been planning her exit strategy for months. Your mother was found in a motel room with another man tonight, I said. On our anniversary. Silence on the other end of the line. Then, Dad, that can't be right. It's right, honey. I saw the text messages. It's been going on for months. More silence. Riley had always been the more perceptive of our two daughters, the one who noticed when things were off. Chloe, 22 and fresh out of law school like her mother, had always been firmly in Sam's camp. What are you going to do? Riley asked finally. I honestly don't know yet, I said, but I'm not going to pretend this didn't happen. After I hung up, I sat in the truck for another 10 minutes, just looking at the house. The porch light was still on, the way I'd left it when I rushed out to the hospital. The anniversary flowers I'd bought were probably still sitting on the kitchen counter, wilting in their vase. Inside, everything looked exactly the same, but it felt different. Like coming home to a crime scene where the body had been removed, but the chalk outline was still there. I walked through the rooms, seeing them with new eyes. The couch where we used to watch movies together. The kitchen table where we'd had breakfast together that morning, Sam complaining about her caseload while I read her the weather report. Had she been thinking about Nolan then? Had she been planning their afternoon meeting while I was telling her about my plans for the Mustang? I poured myself a whiskey and sat down at my computer. If Sam thought I was going to roll over and play the victim in this scenario, she was about to learn otherwise. I'd been an engineer for 20 years before I started the restoration business. I knew how to research, how to plan, how to execute a project from start to finish. First, I pulled up our bank statements. Joint checking, joint savings, joint credit cards. I started going through the charges from the past 6 months, looking for patterns. The Sunset Motel appeared 17 times, always on days when Sam had told me she was working late. There were charges at expensive restaurants I'd never been to. At lingerie stores, at a jewelry store where she'd apparently bought Nolan a watch for his birthday. My birthday gift from her this year had been a gift card to Home Depot. Next, I logged into our phone records. Hundreds of calls and texts between Sam and Nolan, often late at night or early in the morning. Times when she was lying in bed next to me, probably texting her lover while I slept. By the time the sun came up, I had a complete picture of my wife's affair, documented and organized in a spreadsheet that would have made my engineering professors proud. I also had the beginnings of a plan. My phone rang at 7 a.m., Chloe calling from her apartment downtown. Dad, what the hell did you do to Mom? She's hysterical. She says you stole her phone and abandoned her at the hospital. I didn't steal anything, I said calmly. I read the text messages from her boyfriend. Did she mention that part? That's ridiculous. Mom wouldn't. Chloe, your mother was found unconscious in a motel room with Nolan Pierce, your cousin Jessica's husband. There are text messages going back 6 months. There are hotel charges on our credit card. This isn't some misunderstanding. Silence. Then, even if that's true, you can't just leave her in the hospital. Watch me, I said, and hung up. An hour later, I was at the bank. I'd been married long enough to know that the first rule of divorce is to protect your assets. I moved half of our joint savings into a new account in my name only. I canceled the credit cards. I called our insurance company and removed Sam from the auto policy. If she wanted to drive around town meeting her boyfriend, she could pay for her own insurance. Then I called my lawyer. Jesus, Dave, said Tom Miller, who'd handled our real estate closings and wills for the past 15 years. Are you sure about this? Tom, I've got documentation going back 6 months. Hotel receipts, phone records, text messages. She's been using our joint credit card to pay for her affair, I'm sure. Okay, I'll draw up the papers. But Dave, you need to think about this. Divorce is expensive and it's messy. Maybe you two can work this out. Tom, she was screwing her cousin's husband in a motel room on our anniversary. There's no working this out. After I hung up, I sat in my truck outside the bank and called Ricky Kowalski, my best friend since high school, and the only person I knew who'd give me straight advice without trying to talk me out of anything. Holy crap, Ricky said when I finished explaining. Nolan Pierce, that smarmy little prick? I never liked that guy. Yeah, well, apparently my wife liked him enough to blow up our marriage. What do you need from me? I need you to help me move her stuff out of the house before she gets discharged from the hospital. Dave, I don't know if that's Ricky. She made her choice. She chose him over me, over our family, over 25 years of marriage. I'm not going to sit around waiting for her to decide when it's convenient to leave. 3 hours later, Ricky and I were loading Sam's clothes and personal items into boxes. I wasn't being vindictive. I packed everything carefully, included all her jewelry and photos and mementos, but I wanted her gone before she came home and tried to act like nothing had happened. We were just finishing when my phone rang. Sam, calling from the hospital. David, I'm being discharged in an hour. Can you come pick me up? No, I said. I can't. What do you mean no? I don't have a car here. Call Nolan. I'm sure he'll be happy to give you a ride. David, please. We need to talk about this. We needed to talk about it 6 months ago, before you started screwing your cousin's husband. Now we're past talking. I hung up and looked around our bedroom. My bedroom now. It looked bigger without her things, emptier but somehow cleaner. You sure about this? Ricky asked. I'm sure, I said. 25 years and she threw it away for that piece of crap. I'm done pretending I'm okay with it. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. This is Nolan. We need to talk. I showed the message to Ricky, who grinned. What are you going to tell him? Nothing, I said, but I know where to find him. Nolan Pierce lived in a luxury condo downtown, the kind of place that screams, I make too much money and have no taste. All glass and steel and pretentious modern art, with a doorman who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. I'd been there twice before, for family gatherings back when I thought Nolan was just Jessica's annoying husband instead of my wife's lover. Now I was back, but not for a social call. The doorman recognized me. Mr. Davidson, right? You here to see the Pierces? Just Nolan, I said. Is he in? Yeah, he came in about an hour ago. Looked pretty rough, if you don't mind me saying. Unit 1247. I took the elevator up, my hands shaking slightly. I wasn't sure what I was going to do when I saw him, but I knew I needed to look him in the eye. I needed to see the man who'd helped destroy my marriage. Nolan answered the door in a bathrobe, his hair disheveled, a drink in his hand even though it was only 2 p.m. He looked like he hadn't slept, which gave me a small amount of satisfaction. Dave, he said, not quite meeting my eyes. I was hoping you'd call. Were you? I pushed past him into the apartment. That's interesting because I was hoping you'd stay the hell away from my wife. The place was a mess. Empty bottles on the counter, clothes scattered around, the couch cushions askew like he'd been pacing and throwing things. Good. I hoped he was suffering. Look, I know how this looks, Nolan said, closing the door behind me. But it's not what you think. It's exactly what I think. I turned to face him, and I could see the fear in his eyes. Good. He should be afraid. I read the text messages, Nolan. 6 months of planning your little hookups. 6 months of laughing about how stupid I was. 6 months of using my credit card to pay for your affair. Dave, I never meant for this to happen. It just what? Your Johnson just accidentally fell into my wife? 17 times at the Sunset Motel? Nolan flinched. You don't understand. Sam and I, we have a connection. We understand each other. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. A connection, is that what you call it? Because I call it adultery. I call it betrayal. I call it 2 selfish pieces of crap destroying 2 families because they couldn't keep it in their pants. Jessica doesn't know, Nolan said quickly. And it doesn't have to affect. Jessica doesn't know yet, I corrected him. But she's going to, because I'm going to tell her. Today. The color drained from Nolan's face. Dave, please, think about what you're doing. Jessica and I have kids. I can't just what? Tell the truth? Expose your affair? Why the hell not? You didn't think about Jessica's kids when you were screwing my wife. I walked over to his bar cart and poured myself a whiskey, more to have something to do with my hands than because I wanted the drink. The apartment had floor-to-ceiling windows that looked out over the city, and I could see the hospital in the distance where I'd left Sam a few hours ago. What do you want from me? Nolan asked. I want you to understand what you've done, I said. I want you to look me in the eye and acknowledge that you helped destroy a 25-year marriage. I want you to admit that you're a selfish piece of crap who cares more about getting laid than about the families you're destroying. Dave, I'm sorry. I really am. But Sam and I, we're in love. I turned around slowly. In love? You're in love with my wife? Yes, and she loves me too. We didn't plan this, but it happened, and now we have to deal with it. Something cold and hard settled in my chest. This wasn't just an affair. This wasn't just Zex. They actually thought they had a future together. So, what's the plan? I asked. You two ride off into the sunset together? Leave Jessica and the kids behind? Leave our daughters behind? Start fresh like the last 25 years never happened? It's not that simple. No, it's not, because I'm not going to make it simple for you. I set down my drink and walked toward him. You want my wife? You can have her, but you're going to pay for her. You're going to pay for the divorce lawyers. You're going to pay for the counseling my daughters are going to need. You're going to pay for the damage you've done to everyone around you. That's not how divorce works, Dave. You can't just... Watch me, I said. I've got 6 months of documentation, hotel receipts, phone records, credit card statements. I've got text messages where you two laugh about how clueless I am. I've got proof that you used marital assets to fund your affair. You think any judge is going to be sympathetic to you? Nolan was starting to sweat. What do you want? I want you to stay away from my daughters. I want you to pay for your own hotel rooms from now on. And I want you to understand that this isn't over. You destroyed my family, and I'm going to make sure everyone knows exactly what kind of man you are. I headed for the door, then turned back. Oh, and Nolan? When you see Sam, tell her I packed her things. She can pick them up from the front porch anytime after 6 p.m. I'll be at the gym, so she won't have to face me. Dave, wait. But I was already gone, walking back to the elevator with my heart pounding and my hands shaking with adrenaline. I'd done it. I'd looked him in the eye and told him exactly what I thought of him. And it felt good. The elevator doors closed, and I saw my reflection in the polished steel. I looked older than I had this morning, harder somehow. 24 hours ago, I'd been a married man planning an anniversary dinner. Now, I was someone else entirely. My phone buzzed as I reached the lobby, a text from Jessica Pierce. Dave, I just heard about Sam. Are you okay? Do you need anything? I stared at the message for a long moment. Jessica didn't know yet. She was offering comfort to the husband of her cousin, not knowing that her own husband was the reason I needed comforting. I typed back, Thanks, Jess. Can we talk? There's something you need to know. The response came immediately. Of course. Come over whenever you want. I walked out of Nolan's building and got in my truck, feeling like I was about to drop a bomb on another family. But Nolan was right about one thing. Jessica deserved to know the truth. And if I was going down, I wasn't going down alone. Jessica Pierce lived in a modest suburban house 15 minutes from Nolan's condo, the kind of place where normal families live normal lives. Soccer balls in the front yard, bicycles on the porch, a minivan in the driveway with stick-figure family decals on the back window. I sat in my truck for a few minutes before going to the door, trying to figure out how to tell a woman I'd known for 10 years that her husband had been screwing my wife. There's no good way to deliver that kind of news. Jessica answered the door with flour in her hair and an apron around her waist. Behind her, I could hear kids playing and smell something baking in the oven. Normal family sounds, normal family smells. The kind of life I'd thought I had 24 hours ago. Dave, you look terrible, she said, giving me a hug. Come in. I just put coffee on. Her kitchen was warm and cluttered, with kids' artwork on the refrigerator and homework scattered across the counter. Her two boys, 8 and 10, were building something with Legos in the living room, arguing good-naturedly about whose turn it was to add pieces. Boys, go play upstairs for a while, Jessica called. Uncle Dave and I need to talk. They grumbled but complied, and Jessica poured 2 cups of coffee and sat down across from me at the kitchen table. She looked so normal, so innocent, so completely unprepared for what I was about to tell her. Jess, I started, then stopped. How do you begin this conversation? I know Sam's in the hospital, she said. Nolan told me there was some kind of accident. Is she going to be okay? It wasn't an accident, I said. She was found in a motel room with Nolan. Jessica blinked. What do you mean with Nolan? Nolan was here last night. He came home around midnight, said he'd been at a work thing. I pulled out my phone and showed her the text messages I'd screenshot before leaving the hospital. Her face went white as she read them. This can't be right, she whispered. These are from Nolan's number, but he wouldn't. We have kids, Dave. We're happy. I thought we were happy too, I said gently, but apparently we were both wrong. Jessica read through more of the messages, her hands shaking. The texts were explicit, detailed, full of planning and scheming and intimate details that no wife should have to read about her husband and another woman. 6 months, she said finally. This has been going on for 6 months, and I didn't know. I didn't know either. I thought Sam was working late. I thought she was dedicated to her career. I never suspected she was dedicated to your husband. Jessica started crying then, quiet tears that she wiped away with her apron. The boys are going to be devastated. Nolan coaches Tommy's soccer team. He helps Jake with his math homework. How am I going to explain this to them? I don't know, I said honestly. I haven't figured out how to explain it to my daughters either. Chloe thinks I'm overreacting. Riley's confused. They don't understand how their mother could do this to our family. Where is he now? Jessica asked. Where's Nolan? At his condo. Drunk from the looks of it, trying to convince himself that he and Sam are in love, and this is all some romantic tragedy instead of what it really is. Two selfish people destroying their families. Jessica stood up abruptly and walked to the window, looking out at her backyard, where a swing set sat empty in the afternoon sun. I need to call my sister. The boys can stay with her tonight. I need to confront him. Jess, maybe you should wait. Maybe you should talk to a lawyer first. No. She turned around and I could see something hard in her eyes that hadn't been there before. I want to hear it from him. I want to look him in the eye and hear him admit what he's done. An hour later, we were both standing outside Nolan's condo building. Jessica had dropped the boys at her sister's house and called in sick to work. She looked smaller somehow, diminished, like the weight of betrayal was physically crushing her. You don't have to do this, I told her. I can wait downstairs if you want to talk to him alone. No, she said. I want you there. I want him to see what he's done to both of us. The doorman looked confused when he saw us together, but he let us up without comment. The elevator ride felt endless, and I could see Jessica's hands shaking as we approached Nolan's door. She knocked, and we could hear movement inside. Then Nolan's voice. Dave, is that you again? It's me, Jessica called out. The silence that followed was deafening. Then the sound of multiple locks being turned, and the door opened to reveal Nolan looking even worse than he had a few hours earlier. His eyes went wide when he saw both of us standing there. Jess, he said weakly, what are you doing here? I'm here to ask my husband why he's been ducking my cousin for the past 6 months, she said, her voice steady despite the tears on her cheeks. Nolan looked like he might faint. Jess, please, let me explain. Explain what? Explain how you've been lying to me every day for 6 months? Explain how you've been using our family as a cover while you sneak around with Sam? Explain how you came home to me and our children after spending the afternoon in a motel room with another woman? It's not what you think. It's exactly what I think. Jessica pushed past him into the apartment, and I followed. Dave showed me the text messages, Nolan, all of them. The planning, the scheming, the laughing about how stupid we were. How we didn't suspect anything. Nolan closed the door behind us, his shoulders slumped in defeat. I never meant for you to find out this way. How did you mean for me to find out? Were you planning to tell me at all? Or were you just going to keep lying until you decided to leave me for her? I don't know, Nolan said quietly. I don't know what I was planning. You don't know? Jessica's voice was rising. You don't know? You've been destroying our marriage for 6 months, and you don't know what you were planning? I watched this scene unfold, feeling oddly detached. This was what betrayal looked like from the outside. The confusion, the anger, the desperate need to understand how someone you trusted could do this to you. I'd been living it for 24 hours, but seeing Jessica go through it made it feel fresh and raw all over again. I love her, Nolan said finally. I know that doesn't make it right, but I love Sam. And she loves me. You love her? Jessica laughed, but there was no humor in it. You love her so much that you left her alone in a motel room when the police came? You love her so much that you ran away and let her husband deal with the aftermath? Nolan flinched. I panicked. I didn't know what to do. You knew what to do when you wanted to screw her, I said. You figured that out just fine. But when it came time to face the consequences, you ran like a coward. Dave, please. Please what? Please don't tell the truth. Please pretend this didn't happen. Please, let you keep destroying our families while you figure out what you want. Jessica was looking around the apartment, taking in the empty bottles and the mess. How long have you been drinking? Since last night, Nolan admitted. Since the police came. Since everything fell apart. Everything fell apart the day you decided to cheat on your wife, I said. This is just when you got caught. Jessica walked over to the bar cart and picked up one of the empty bottles. This is the whiskey I bought you for Christmas. The expensive stuff I saved up for. You've been drinking it while you plan your affair with my cousin. She threw the bottle against the wall, where it shattered into 1,000 pieces. Nolan jumped, and I felt a surge of admiration for Jessica. She was handling this better than I was. Jess, please, calm down. Calm down. She picked up another bottle. Calm down? My husband has been cheating on me for 6 months, lying to me every day, using our family as a cover for his affair, and you want me to calm down? The second bottle followed the first, exploding against the wall in a shower of glass and alcohol. Stop, Nolan said, reaching for her. You're going to hurt yourself. Don't touch me, Jessica snapped, backing away from him. Don't you ever touch me again. She turned to me. I can't be here anymore. I can't look at him. Let's go, I said. You've heard enough. As we headed for the door, Jessica turned back to Nolan one more time. I want you out of our house by tomorrow night. Take whatever you need and leave the rest. I'll have my lawyer contact you about the divorce. Jess, wait. We can work this out. We can go to counseling. No, she said firmly. We can't work this out. You chose Sam over me, over our children, over our marriage. Now you can live with that choice. The elevator doors closed on Nolan standing in his doorway, surrounded by broken glass and the wreckage of his life. Jessica and I rode down in silence, both of us shell-shocked by the confrontation. I'm sorry, I said as we reached the lobby. I'm sorry you had to go through that. I'm not, Jessica said, wiping her eyes. I needed to see who he really is. I needed to stop making excuses for him. We walked out into the afternoon sun, and I felt like we'd both crossed some kind of line. We weren't the same people who'd walked into that building an hour ago. We were something harder, something more determined. What happens now? Jessica asked. Now we pick up the pieces, I said, and we make sure they pay for what they've done. 2 weeks later, I was sitting in Tom Miller's law office, signing divorce papers and planning the systematic destruction of my wife's life. It sounds harsh when I put it that way, but I'd had 14 days to think about what Sam and Nolan had done, and harsh seemed appropriate. You sure about this approach, Dave? Tom asked, reviewing the papers. This is going to get ugly fast. It's already ugly, I said. I'm just making it official. The approach was simple. I was going to use every legal tool at my disposal to make Sam's affair as expensive and public as possible. Alienation of affection lawsuit against Nolan. Forensic accounting of our joint finances to prove she'd used marital assets to fund the affair. Full disclosure of all evidence in the divorce proceedings, which would become public record. The alienation of affection suit is interesting, Tom said. Most people don't know that's still a valid cause of action in this state. If we can prove Nolan deliberately interfered with your marriage, we can go after his assets. I can prove it, I said. I've got 6 months of text messages where they discuss strategy for hiding the affair from me. That's deliberate interference, Tom nodded. And the forensic accounting? 17 hotel visits charged to our joint credit card. Expensive dinners, gifts, lingerie, all purchased with marital funds. That's dissipation of marital assets. The court can order her to reimburse me for every penny. What about spousal support? She makes more money than I do. She can support herself. Especially since she'll be living with her boyfriend. Tom looked uncomfortable. Dave, I have to ask, are you doing this because you want a fair settlement or because you want revenge? Both, I said honestly. Sam destroyed our marriage and our family because she was bored. She used our money to fund her affair. She lied to me every day for 6 months. She deserves everything that's coming to her. After I left Tom's office, I drove to the gym where Ricky worked as a boxing coach. I'd been going there every day since the hospital, working out my anger and frustration on the heavy bag. It was better than drinking, and it kept me from doing something stupid. You look better, Ricky said when he saw me. Less like you want to murder someone. The day is young, I said, pulling on my gloves. How are the girls handling everything? I started hitting the bag, letting the rhythm calm my mind. Chloe's furious with me. She thinks I'm being vindictive and cruel. She's moved in with Sam temporarily to support her through this difficult time. And Riley? Riley's confused, but she's starting to understand. She read some of the text messages I showed her. She can't believe her mother would do something like this. What about Jessica and the boys? Jessica filed for divorce yesterday. She's staying strong for the kids, but she's devastated. Nolan moved in with Sam last week. They're renting a place downtown, playing house while their families fall apart. Ricky held the bag steady while I worked out my frustrations. You know, there might be a more direct way to handle this. What do you mean? I mean, Nolan comes to this gym sometimes, works out with a personal trainer, acts like he's some kind of tough guy. Maybe he needs a reminder about what real consequences look like. I stopped hitting the bag. Ricky, I can't ask you to... You're not asking. I'm offering. This piece of crap destroyed your marriage and Jessica's marriage. Someone should explain to him how that makes people feel. No, I said firmly. I'm not going to give him the satisfaction of playing the victim. I'm going to destroy him legally, financially, and socially. But I'm not going to touch him physically. Your call, Ricky said. But if you change your mind, let me know. That evening, I was working on the Mustang in my garage when Chloe showed up. She looked tired and older than her 22 years, and I felt a pang of guilt for what this was doing to our daughters. Dad, we need to talk, she said. Okay, want a beer? This isn't a social call. She sat down on an overturned crate, looking around the garage that had been my refuge for the past 3 years. Mom is falling apart. She's barely eating. She's not sleeping. She cries all the time. I'm sorry to hear that, I said, not looking up from the engine I was working on. Are you? Are you really sorry? Because it seems like you're enjoying this. I put down my wrench and looked at my daughter. Chloe, your mother had an affair. For 6 months, she lied to me, used our money to pay for hotel rooms and gifts for her boyfriend, and planned her secret life while I worked 60 hours a week to support our family. I'm not enjoying any of this, but I'm not going to pretend it didn't happen either. She made a mistake. A mistake is forgetting to pick up milk at the store. A mistake is bouncing a check. An affair is a choice. 17 different choices to meet her boyfriend in a motel room. Hundreds of choices to lie to me about where she was and what she was doing. Chloe was crying now. She loves you, Dad. She's always loved you. This thing with Nolan, it's complicated. It's not complicated at all. She wanted to screw her cousin's husband, so she did. Now she has to live with the consequences. The consequences? Dad, you're trying to destroy her career. You're suing Nolan for everything he's worth. You're making this as public and humiliating as possible. How is that fair? I stood up and faced my daughter. Fair? You want to talk about fair? Is it fair that I spent 25 years building a life with someone who was planning her exit strategy? Is it fair that Jessica's kids have to see their father move in with another woman? Is it fair that you and Riley have to choose sides because your mother couldn't keep her pants on? Dad, no, Chloe. You don't get to lecture me about fairness. Your mother made her choices. Now I'm making mine. Chloe wiped her eyes. What if she ends it with Nolan? What if she wants to come home and work things out? Then she should have thought of that before she started the affair. It's too late now. It's never too late to forgive someone you love. I looked at my daughter, this young woman who still believed in happy endings and second chances, and I felt something break inside my chest. Honey, I did love your mother. For 25 years, I loved her more than anything in the world except you and Riley. But the woman I loved wouldn't have done this. The woman I loved wouldn't have destroyed our family for a cheap thrill with her cousin's husband. So that's it? 25 years of marriage and you're just throwing it away? I'm not throwing anything away. Your mother already threw it away. I'm just cleaning up the mess. Chloe stood up to leave. I don't know who you are anymore, Dad. This isn't the man who raised me. You're right, I said. The man who raised you was naive enough to trust his wife. The man who raised you believed that love and commitment meant something. That man is gone, and your mother killed him. After Chloe left, I sat in my garage for a long time, surrounded by the tools and parts that had become my new life. The Mustang was almost finished. Another few weeks, and it would be ready for the road. A complete restoration, better than new. I wished I could say the same about myself. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Dave, this is Sam. Please call me. We need to talk. I stared at the message for a long moment, then deleted it without responding. We'd had 25 years to talk. Now it was time for action. The next morning, I drove downtown to the office building where Sam worked. I'd never visited her there before. She'd always said it was too busy, too chaotic, not a place for family. Now I understood why. The law firm of Patterson, Bradley & Associates occupied 3 floors of a gleaming office tower. Sam was a junior partner, specializing in corporate law, making twice what I made as an engineer. She'd always been proud of her success, and I'd been proud of her too. Not anymore. I took the elevator to the 15th floor and walked up to the reception desk. I'd like to see Samantha Davidson, please. Do you have an appointment? I'm her husband. The receptionist looked uncomfortable. Let me check if she's available. A few minutes later, Sam appeared in the lobby, looking pale and thin. She'd lost weight in the past 2 weeks, and there were dark circles under her eyes. Good. David, what are you doing here? I wanted to see where you work, I said. The place that was so important to you that you had to work late all those nights. The place that kept you so busy, you couldn't make it home for our anniversary dinner. Please don't do this here, she said quietly. Can we go somewhere private? No, I like it here. All your colleagues can see what a devoted husband looks like. Sam glanced around nervously. Several people were watching us, pretending to work while they listened to our conversation. David, I know you're angry. Angry? I laughed. Sam, angry doesn't begin to cover what I am. I'm devastated. I'm humiliated. I'm disgusted. But angry? That's just the tip of the iceberg. I never meant for this to happen. You never meant to get caught. There's a difference. Sam started crying, which drew even more attention from her coworkers. Please, can we just go somewhere and talk? I can explain everything. Explain what? Explain how you and Nolan laughed about how stupid I was? Explain how you used our credit card to pay for your hotel rooms? Explain how you planned your affair while I was at home making dinner and waiting for you to come home? It wasn't like that. It was exactly like that. I read the messages, Sam, all of them. I know exactly what it was like. One of the senior partners approached us. Sam, is everything okay here? Everything's fine, Mr. Patterson, Sam said quickly. David was just leaving. Actually, I wasn't, I said. I was just getting started. You see, Mr. Patterson, my wife has been having an affair with her cousin's husband for 6 months, using company time to plan their meetings, using our joint credit card to pay for hotel rooms. I thought her colleagues should know what kind of person they're working with. Patterson looked shocked. Sam, is this true? Sam's face was bright red. David, please stop. Stop telling the truth. Stop letting people know who you really are. Why would I do that? Because you're hurting our daughters. Because you're destroying any chance we have of working this out. Because this isn't who you are. I looked at my wife, this woman I'd loved for 25 years, and felt nothing but contempt. You're right, Sam. This isn't who I was, but it's who I am now, and you made me this way. I turned to Patterson. You might want to check her billing records for the past 6 months. I bet you'll find some interesting discrepancies between where she said she was and where she actually was. Then I walked away, leaving Sam crying in the lobby of her law firm, surrounded by colleagues who were staring at her with a mixture of shock and disgust. It felt good. It felt like justice. It felt like the beginning of the end. The town's annual Founders Day festival was held every September in the park downtown, complete with live music, food trucks, and a charity auction that raised money for the local schools. It was the kind of wholesome community event where everyone showed up, including people who'd been avoiding each other all year. People like me and Sam and Nolan and Jessica. I hadn't planned to go, but Riley convinced me. Dad, you can't hide forever. Besides, I'm singing with the high school choir, and I want you to be there. So there I was, standing near the bandstand with a beer in my hand, watching my daughter perform with a group of teenagers while my soon-to-be ex-wife sat 50 yards away with her boyfriend. The irony wasn't lost on me. A year ago, Sam and I would have been here together, proud parents watching our daughter sing. Now we were on opposite sides of a very public divorce. The past month had been brutal for everyone involved. The alienation of affection lawsuit had made the local news, along with details about the affair that had the whole town talking. Sam's law firm had put her on administrative leave, pending an investigation into her billing practices. Nolan had been fired from his consulting job when his boss decided he was too much of a liability. Jessica was doing better. She'd gotten the house in the divorce, along with full custody of the boys and a generous support settlement. Nolan's assets had been frozen pending the outcome of my lawsuit, which meant he couldn't afford a decent lawyer. Justice served cold. Dad, you made it! Riley appeared at my elbow, flushed with excitement from her performance. You sounded great, honey. I'm proud of you. Thanks. Listen, Mom wants to talk to you. She's over by the food trucks. I looked across the park and saw Sam standing alone, looking lost and fragile. Nolan was nowhere to be seen, which was probably smart on his part. The last time he'd shown his face in public, someone had thrown a drink at him. I don't think that's a good idea, I told Riley. Dad, please, just 5 minutes. She's really struggling. Against my better judgment, I walked over to where Sam was standing. Up close, she looked even worse than she had at her office. She'd lost more weight, her clothes hung loose on her frame, and she looked like she hadn't slept in weeks. Hello, David, she said quietly. Sam, thank you for agreeing to talk to me. I didn't agree to anything. Riley asked me to come over here. Sam nodded. She's worried about both of us, about our family. We don't have a family anymore. You destroyed it. I know. She looked down at her hands. I know I did this. I know I ruined everything. But David, I need you to know that I never meant for it to go this far. How far did you mean for it to go? Just a few hotel rooms? Just a few months of lying and cheating? What was the acceptable level of betrayal in your mind? I don't know, she whispered. I was confused. I was unhappy. I felt like we were just going through the motions, like we were strangers living in the same house. So you decided to become strangers living in different houses with your cousin's husband. It wasn't about Nolan. Not really. It was about feeling alive again, feeling wanted, feeling like I mattered to someone. I looked at this woman I'd been married to for 25 years, and I felt a flicker of something that might have been pity. You mattered to me, Sam. You mattered to our daughters. You had a family who loved you, and you threw it away for a cheap thrill. I know that now, but I can't change what I did. I can only ask you to forgive me. Forgive you? I laughed, but there was no humor in it. Sam, forgiveness is for accidents, for mistakes, for things people do without thinking. You planned this affair for 6 months. You lied to me every day. You used our money to pay for your hotel rooms. That's not something I can forgive. So, what happens now? We just hate each other for the rest of our lives? I don't hate you, I said, and I was surprised to realize it was true. I hate what you did. I hate how you did it. I hate that you destroyed our family, but I don't hate you. I just don't love you anymore. Sam started crying. David, please. Isn't there any way we can work this out? Can't we try counseling? Can't we try to rebuild what we had? What we had was built on trust. You destroyed that. There's nothing left to rebuild. But the girls will be fine. They're adults. They'll figure out how to have relationships with both of us. But there is no us anymore, Sam. There's you, and there's me, and there's a divorce decree that will be final in 6 weeks. I started to walk away, then turned back. By the way, where's Nolan? I thought you two were inseparable. Sam's face crumpled. He left last week. He said the pressure was too much, that he needed space to figure things out. Ah, I nodded. So the great love affair is over? The man you destroyed 2 families for decided you weren't worth the trouble after all? David, don't what? Don't point out that you gave up everything for a man who abandoned you the minute things got difficult? Don't mention that you're alone now, with no husband, no boyfriend, no job, and daughters who don't know what to think of you? I know I deserve this, Sam said. I know I brought this on myself. But please, don't be cruel. Cruel? I looked at her with genuine amazement. Sam, you have no idea what cruel looks like. Cruel would be me doing to you what you did to me. Cruel would be me lying to you for 6 months, using your money to fund an affair, laughing about how stupid you were with my lover. I leaned closer. What I'm doing to you is called consequences, and you haven't seen anything yet. I walked away from her then, back toward the bandstand where Riley was getting ready for another performance. Behind me, I could hear Sam crying, but I didn't look back. I was done looking back. The charity auction was starting, and I had something special planned. I donated an item to be auctioned off, a fully restored 1967 Mustang convertible, cherry red with a white interior, worth about $40,000. The same car I'd been working on in my garage for the past 3 years. The same car Sam had complained about because it took up space and made noise. Our next item is a beautiful classic car, donated by David Davidson, the auctioneer announced. This 1967 Mustang has been completely restored and is ready for the road. The crowd murmured appreciatively as the car was driven onto the stage. It looked perfect under the lights, every detail exactly right. 3 years of work, 3 years of passion, 3 years of building something beautiful. The bidding starts at $10,000, the auctioneer said. I watched as people raised their paddles, driving the price higher and higher. $15,000, $20,000, $25,000. The money would go to the school district, to programs for kids like Riley who loved music and needed support to pursue their dreams. $30,000, someone called out. I looked around and saw Sam standing at the edge of the crowd, staring at the car with tears in her eyes. She knew what that car meant to me. She knew how many hours I'd spent working on it, how much love and attention I'd put into every detail. $35,000, another voice called. The bidding slowed down as the price climbed higher. Most people had dropped out, leaving just a few serious collectors competing for the car. $40,000, came a voice from the back of the crowd. Do I hear 45? The auctioneer asked. Silence. The car was worth every penny of $40,000, but that was serious money for most people. Going once, the auctioneer said. Going twice. $50,000, I called out. The crowd turned to look at me, confused. Why was I bidding on my own donation? Sold to David Davidson for $50,000, the auctioneer said, looking puzzled. I walked up to the stage and took the microphone from the auctioneer. The crowd fell silent, sensing that something significant was about to happen. Thank you all for coming out tonight, I said. I know this seems strange, me buying back my own donation, but I wanted to make a point. I looked out at the crowd, finding Sam's face in the sea of people. She was staring at me with a mixture of confusion and dread. 3 years ago, I started restoring this car, I continued. It was a wreck when I bought it, rusted, broken, abandoned, but I saw potential in it. I saw what it could become with enough time and care and love. The crowd was listening intently now, sensing the deeper meaning behind my words. I spent 3 years working on this car, nights and weekends, early mornings before work, every spare moment I had. I rebuilt the engine, restored the interior, repainted every panel. I put my heart and soul into making it beautiful again. I paused, looking directly at Sam. But you know what I learned? Some things can't be restored. Some things are too damaged, too broken, too corrupted to ever be beautiful again. And when that happens, the best thing you can do is walk away and start over with something new. I pulled out a cigarette lighter and held it up for everyone to see. This car represents my old life, my old dreams, my old faith in people and promises and forever, and I don't want it anymore. The crowd gasped as I walked over to the car and opened the gas tank. I could hear people shouting, see security guards starting to move toward me, but I didn't care. I was done caring about what people thought. "David, no!" Sam screamed, pushing through the crowd toward the stage, but it was too late. I dropped the lighter into the gas tank and stepped back as the car erupted in flames. The heat hit my face like a physical blow, and I could hear the crowd screaming and running for safety. I stood there watching my beautiful, perfect, restored Mustang burn, and I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Peace. The fire department arrived within minutes, but there was nothing left to save. The car was completely destroyed, reduced to a blackened shell and melted metal. 3 years of work, gone in 10 minutes. Are you insane? Sam was standing next to me, tears streaming down her face. That car was worth $50,000. You just destroyed $50,000. No, I said calmly. I just destroyed something that reminded me of you, and it was worth every penny. The police wanted to arrest me, but I technically destroyed my own property, and I'd already written a check to the school district for $50,000. No crime had been committed, just a very public statement about the end of a marriage. As the crowd dispersed and the cleanup crews arrived, I walked back to my truck feeling lighter than I had in years. My phone was buzzing with calls and texts, but I ignored them all. I had one more stop to make. 20 minutes later, I was standing in front of Nolan's condo building, looking up at the dark windows of his apartment. The doorman recognized me, but didn't try to stop me as I walked to the elevator. The apartment was empty. Nolan had cleared out completely, leaving nothing behind but dust and the faint smell of expensive cologne. There was a note on the kitchen counter addressed to Sam. I'm sorry. This is too much for me. I need to start over somewhere else. Don't try to find me. I crumpled up the note and tossed it in the trash. Then I walked out to the balcony and looked out over the city, at all the lights and lives and stories playing out below me. My phone rang. Riley calling from the festival. Dad, are you okay? Everyone's talking about what you did with the car. I'm fine, honey. Better than fine, actually. Dad, that was crazy. You could have hurt someone. I was very careful. No one was in danger except the car. But why? Why did you destroy something you loved so much? I thought about that for a moment, looking out at the city lights. Because sometimes you have to destroy something beautiful to make room for something better. And because I wanted everyone to understand that some things can't be fixed, no matter how much time and love you put into them. Are you talking about the car or about Mom? Both, I said. I'm talking about both. I hung up the phone and walked back through Nolan's empty apartment, turning off the lights as I went. Tomorrow, I would start over. Tomorrow, I would begin building a new life, free from the wreckage of the old one. But tonight, I was going to drive home to my empty house, pour myself a whiskey, and enjoy the silence. For the first time in 25 years, I didn't have to wonder where my wife was or who she was with. I didn't have to pretend everything was fine when it wasn't. I didn't have to smile and nod and play the role of the devoted husband. I was free. And it felt better than I had ever imagined it could.